Welcome back, my gentle people. This is Corner Stories with your daily serving of relationship stories. Growing up, I was told by my adoptive parents that I was adopted at 10 months old. They're always open about it. They framed up a picture of me and my parents and placed it in my room so I would always remember them. They even track down their grave and take me there once every 2 years. We'll have a little picnic and they will ask me to share my achievements with my biological parents. They didn't change my last name to theirs and allowed me to decide whether I want to change it, which I did in my teens. I'm now 27F, I'm a nurse and I live on my own with my cat, Abu, and just a few hours away from my adoptive parents. I have a neighbor, let's call her Anna. She's a marine biologist, married, and has 3 kids. We often chat when we bump into each other in the hallway, or her kids will come over to my place to play with my cat. 4 days ago, I got a knock on my door and it was Anna. Turns out her nanny MIA on her at the last minute and is already late for a close friend's wedding and was wondering if I can watch the kids for a couple of hours while they're gone. She asked me if I can watch them at her apartment instead since her youngest is sleeping. I grabbed my stuff and went over next door. We played dolls, played pretend and ordered food and watched a movie after that. So I told the kids to keep their toys before the food arrived, and while we were at it, I saw something that made my heart drop. I saw a picture of my parents. They look so much younger and it was a different picture from what I had. I asked Anna's kids if they knew who these people were. They told me they have no idea who it was. My curiosity grew more and more. I texted my adoptive parents if they knew I have any siblings. They told me they were not too certain, but in the adoption profile, it stated that I'm alone and without any siblings. A few hours later and Anna got home. I was inquisitive to know and I couldn't wait any longer. I asked Anna, who are this young couple? Anna told me it was her parents and they died when she was 6. She was then raised by her aunt. I was shocked, I feel like throwing up. This can't be real. I have a sister. I went home and did some social engineering. I went on Facebook and Instagram to see what I can find. I found the profile of an old lady who I believe is the one that raised Anna. I see that she refers to Anna as her daughter, and I was looking at pictures and I found a rather similar picture to what my adoptive parents gave me, just without me in it. I called my adoptive parents, crying, telling them what I found. They drive for hours to come to me, and when I showed them, the 3 of us cried together. They told me that I should let her know. I don't know if I should because it seems like she doesn't know that I existed. Update. Thank you everyone for your kind words and I really appreciate all the encouragement. I gathered myself and yes, I spoke to Anna. I invited her to my apartment, away from her kids, so the both of us can sit down and talk about it. I showed her the picture that I have. She's as confused as I am. I told her that we might be sisters. I could see the tears building up at the edge of her eyes. She told me she wants to be excused. She left my apartment and I thought that was it. For a while, there's so much of what ifs. What if she's a cousin? What if the baby in the photo is not me? What if there was a mixed up at the adoption home? A few minutes later, she knocked on my apartment door. She brought her laptop, the photo of her parents and her phone. We compared our pictures and yes, they're the same person. I showed my birth certificate and how I changed my last name during my teens as well as my adoption papers. I told her that I have a birthmark on the left side of my butt cheek, and yes, she remembered. We looked at each other and we started sobbing. She came to hug me and told me that at times she couldn't believe that I'm gone because she loves me so much. She told me how she thought I was dead and that broke her. She video called her aunt, the one that raised her. Let's call her Lucy. When Anna introduced me to Aunt Lucy, she looked horrified. She even asked if Anna got mixed up because she was pretty sure I was dead. We showed her my birth certificate and all the adoption documents, and once she saw there was evidence, she started crying and kept on apologizing. Aunt Lucy was hesitating at first, but we told her how we deserved to know the truth. So here goes the side of the story that I never knew. Firstly, my parents died in 2 separate accidents. My mom and I met with an accident first. I was fine, but my mom suffered multiple injuries, and when my father got to know, he rushed to the hospital to meet my mom, but he lost control of his car and crashed onto the road divider. Both died at the same hospital, just minutes apart. She was then told that I died too. My sister got sick shortly after my parents' death and couldn't attend the funeral. My parents were well-to-do. My dad was a marine biologist, just like Anna, and my mom was a general surgeon. We have an uncle, let's call him John. So apparently, Aunt Lucy and Uncle John needed money. Aunt Lucy has lots of kids, hence she couldn't afford to raise both of us, while Uncle John and his wife were into traveling and could use some money for their adventures. I have no idea how, but somehow, they managed to get whatever our parents have left us and split it into two. I was given to Uncle John, but he must have placed me at an adoption home and then fled the country. All this while, Aunt Lucy knew about me and how I was placed at an adoption home, but she chooses to keep quiet. A few years after I was sent to the adoption home, Uncle John and his wife came back to the nursing to get me back, but they learned that I was already adopted. It's sad to learn his motives were to receive government reimbursement while I was under their foster care. I felt extremely lucky to be adopted by a family who loved, cared for, and raised me like their own. My adoptive parents were a mature couple when they adopted me. They tried to conceive for so many years, but it failed, and so it resulted in me being adopted, and they told me it was the best decision they'd ever made. Anna is not speaking to Aunt Lucy now. She told me how she felt betrayed and deceived, all these while denying a sibling love just for her own personal gain. She's even looking into taking legal action against both of them. Me and Anna embraced for a long time. There's a lot to catch up, and I'm excited that I'm an aunt to 3 beautiful kids. The feeling is foreign, but the feeling of being loved by a sibling is beyond words. Thank you all for your time. And that is the end of our first story, and what a story it was. I honestly love how the sisters were reunited, but oh my god, I am angry at that greedy aunt and uncle. Even if nothing comes out of the lawsuit, I hope those 2 sisters all the best. Drop a comment and let me know what you think of this story, and if you are feeling up to add, you can sub to the channel for future stories. Now on to the next story. Story 2. AITA for not doing anything for my stepchildren anymore after being called names and filing for a divorce from my husband after he didn't back me up. I 30F have been married to my 34M husband for 6 years, and he has twins, a boy and a girl, and they're 16 now. When we started dating, got married, we went to family therapy, and I made it clear that I was not trying to be their mother or replace their mother. Their mother hasn't been in their life since they were about 8. Things have been great with us these past 6 years. They even started calling me mom when they were around 12-13. Recently their bio mother came back into their lives and they were really excited. Things were great for about 6 months, and then they started to call me by my real name. That hurt, but it's what they chose to do and I never questioned it. Recently they've been getting very disrespectful. They don't follow the curfew rules, they're not cleaning up after themselves, they're talking back to me, telling me I'm not their real mom, that I'm the reason she left, which is not true. I didn't meet him until almost 1.5 years after she left, that now that she's back they don't need me anymore. 3 weeks ago there was a big blow up where my step-son called me a bitch. I took his phone and told him to his room until his dad came back, but instead he ran out and went to his mom's. She came over and it was a big argument. She tried to hit me and I pushed her out of my house. My step-daughter told me if I ever put my hands on her mom again then she'd kick my ass. They both went to their mom's place. After that, I haven't been very active. I usually take them to sports and activities. I don't wake them up for school, so they've been late a few times. I tell them to have their mom wake them up and take them. We were supposed to go to Disney World for their spring break this week, but I canceled everything. I told them and my husband, and I guess they thought I was bluffing. We were supposed to leave Thursday night, and when I didn't start the usual vacation roundup they were shocked. They started saying I was jealous that their mom came back in their lives, that I'm a horrible person, I'm selfish. There was some name calling and my husband was silent. I asked him if he was going to step in and he said I was wrong for canceling. I left and went to stay in a hotel. He has been blowing my phone up asking me to come back, and yesterday he told me that their mother disappeared again and they've been calling me crying and apologizing. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't feel like I'm part of their family and they can't just cry and come back now that she disappeared. I told my husband that I want a divorce and I'll be back over this week to get my things, but we have nothing to talk about. Yes, I know their mother was manipulating them. I never said otherwise. Yes, they are 16. That doesn't give them the right to treat me this way. Being 16 doesn't mean you get to be disrespectful and threaten me. I have always been in their corner. I know their feelings matter in this, but I am also a person with feelings. I am not only considering or moving forward with this divorce based on how the children acted, it is also that my husband did not back me up in this. If I can't count on him to help me navigate this tough situation that we were all going through, then why should I stay? That does not mean that I should be treated the way I was being treated. That is not normal 16-year-old behavior. To threaten me? Call me vile names? I just need time for myself. And I don't want an apology just because their bio mother ran out on them again. I want an apology because they really mean it, and I don't believe anyone can be truly sorry 2 days after their mother vanished again. I would never just abandon them. But I do need time for myself because my feelings were disregarded. Yes, I am an adult, but I still have feelings that were hurt and need time for myself. I never asked or expected them to be perfect. I never expected them to be the most mature people, but I am allowed to be hurt and take time for myself during all of this. They have feelings and so do I. I love them very much, they are my children, but this is a very complicated situation. This is not because they called me a bitch, I've been called worse, I'm a woman. This is ultimately about my husband not backing me up during this situation, and yes, I am hurt that they called me that I'm allowed to be. It hurts even worse coming from two people who I love dearly and would never hurt or want any harm to come to them. Relevant comments. If your husband stepped up and actually parented his children, then he wouldn't be looking forward to his second divorce and being a single parent. If Biomom hadn't done her disappearing act again, I wonder if he'd even be calling OP to beg her to come back. Biomom knew she won, so she checked out. It was clear what Biomom was doing, but to disappear after she convinced her kids to blow up their home life, just seems too messed up. I can see doing that if Biomom had plans to get her family back, but to leave, when they need her. I hope these kids realize what kind of person their mom really is and that their dad gets them the help they need to deal with this. You're not wrong to leave, the moment the disrespect started your husband should have stepped up. Story 3. AITA for telling my mom she can't waltz back into my life and expect me to be happy about it. My 14 parents had me when they were 18. My mom was from a wealthy family, but not my dad. She also had aspirations to become a movie star, so when I was 5 she let my dad and paternal grandparents have me. She thought me and my dad would be a liability. My maternal grandparents also sent some money to help over the years. She recently visited me and my dad. Told him she missed him. He rebuffed her, so she asked me if I could help her win him back. She thought that I could convince him to give her another chance. I told her no. When she asked why, I said the thing in the title. It clearly hurt her a lot. She said I don't understand how difficult it's been for her to stay away and that she's been dealing with an enormous amount of guilt. That I shouldn't rub salt in her wound. Update: a couple of hours ago, I went to have lunch with my mom and told her that she made her choice. She admitted that it was a big mistake, asking me again if I'd help her. I told her no, and that it is up to her if she wants dad back. That it's her job to make it up to him if she can. I cannot help her with this. Relevant comment. She's looking for you to relieve her guilt for the time she has lost rather than looking to see what she can do to make your life better with the time she has left. This is not your fault and she, as an adult, should know better. While I generally say it is better to have a mom in your life than not, it doesn't sound like she is making an effort, so no sense in dwelling on her for too long. Story 4. AITA for kicking my MIL out of my house because she pulled my wife's hair. I'm 29M. My wife is 22F. She has been no contact with her mother since she was 17. Reason being, she was essayed by a colleague of her mother when she was 16, and when she told her mother what happened, her mother told her to never speak about this to anyone. The mother kept bringing the colleague over to the house for dinner parties, and my now wife ended up leaving home to live with her grandmother. She has accomplished so much on her own since then. Graduated with a degree last year and we very recently got married, eloped. Before graduation she asked me if she should reconcile with her estranged parents. She was wanting to connect with her father, but didn't know how to go about it without also having to communicate with her mother to some extent. My wife is an incredibly compassionate person. I wanted to protect her from getting hurt again, but I also didn't want to stand in the way of her making her own choices. She decided to invite her parents to her graduation, introduce me to them, and catch them up cordially on her life. I supported that. I went to go see them with her. It was not smooth, but it opened up communication between my wife and her father. So much so that we invited them to the small reception we threw for friends and family after we were married. This happened very recently. Her mom has been staying with us. The stay was supposed to be 2 weeks, but has now been cut short by me. Things began to fall apart when my MIL argued with my wife about the elopement. She was upset we didn't have a real wedding and kept giving my wife shit for that behind my back. I noticed that in my presence she would switch up very quickly. But as soon as she knew I wasn't around, she would berate my wife, often getting physical, holding her arm roughly, shaking her, etc. My wife shared this with me. I encouraged her to be assertive, and she agreed, saying that she needs to resolve this with her mother on her own. It has to be her. She asked me not to get involved but to pretend to leave the house, and then not actually leave. She said she felt safer confronting her mother knowing I was around, like a shadow. I overheard their conversation. My wife was calm and neutral, didn't get emotional, kept even-tempered and was honest and direct. I was feeling so proud of her. She's come a long way. And she's always wanted to be able to have this kind of redemption, I guess. Being able to stand up to herself now, for the 16-year-old version of her that couldn't. Her mother, however, blew off the handle. 0 to 100. My wife expressed that the conversation was no longer productive and she was going to walk away. She attempted to leave the room and head toward me. She came around the corner when my MIL, who was behind my wife, grabbed my wife's hair and pulled her back. She was about to slap my wife, but I intervened by then. It takes a lot for me to lose my composure. This was it. I took over from that point onward. To cut this short, MIL was packed up and out of my house real quick. Put her on the next flight. I don't feel any regret for kicking out the MIL, but I don't know if I did the right thing. Because I didn't allow my wife any involvement once the assault happened. A part of me feels like I took away an opportunity for her to overcome her trauma. Edit. I saw it in the comments, so I just want to add that my wife is not upset by how I handled it. I grew up in the foster system and never had the experience of having parents and family. Sometimes I struggle to relate to my wife when it comes to that, and I just wanted to get a bit of perspective so I can continue to better support her without my own feelings getting in the way. Relevant comments. You let your wife have her moment, but you kept her safe too. I bet she's grateful you were there to step in. You protected her the way her mother should have 6 years ago. Excellent point. OP did the right thing in allowing his wife to hold that conversation, but once you are aware your spouse is being assaulted, there are only so many correct choices left to make, and all of them involve stepping up. And that is the end of the story. That's it, guys. This is where I will leave you. I hope you enjoyed the stories I had for you. I certainly enjoyed them. Please be sure to drop a like or a comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I will see you. Corner Stories signing off.